Good morning and welcome everyone back to the Power Half Hour. And today we have a very special guest and one of my biggest mentors ever since I started the EXP journey is I made a mistake again. It's Sir Darren Jacklin. Welcome, Darren. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, John, I'm grateful to be here and make a difference. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a little different now transitioning to the Sir Darren Jacklin after I got knighted, but for the longest time, I didn't want to share anybody publicly, and everybody's like, why not? It'd be a disservice to humanity if you didn't share it with other people and use it as an inspiration to inspire other people of what's possible for them in their lives. So,
absolutely inspiring. I do want to get there in terms of how you got knighted, but let's start from the beginning. What's your story, Sir Darren?
yeah, so my story, well, I share with you my backstory. So I have a unique backstory. I grew up in, Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, failed grade 1 of public school, was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability by the school system, and it was determined that I was unfit to attend regular public school. So from grade 1 all the way through to grade 12, I was in what we call special education. I was also put on a pharmaceutical drug called Ritalin for a few years in elementary school. And so I was in this small little special learning class in school. And so when I was 7 years of age, I created my first business called Rent a Kid. I would go out and cut grass, shovel snow, deliver newspapers. And I was serving my community by solving problems and making a difference by knocking on doors and seeing how I can make a difference in the neighborhood. And so I used to knock on hundreds of doors in a month. I was just this kid who was obsessed with knocking on doors. And so by the time I was 9 years of age, I hired my two best friends, which 45 years later, can you imagine 4.5 decades later, we're still great friends to this day. And failed my way through public high school, like through junior high school, got into grade 11 of high school, was probably not going to graduate from grade 12. So in grade 11, I was taken out of class one day by a guidance counselor and a school teacher. They sat me down. They said, Darren, based on your academic marks, you're probably not going to complete grade 12, get your PhD, your public high school diploma. What do you want to do? I said, I want to make a lot of money. I want to have a lot of fun. I want to make a big difference in the world. And I want to use money as a tool for greatness, for serving people, because my success is someone else's miracle. So I want to have a lot of abundance and prosperity. So I can solve a lot of problems and serve a lot of people. So I want to build a lot of financial wealth to serve a lot of people. And they thought I was absolutely crazy because I was not going to get a college or university degree. And so said, Darren, kids like you aren't going to go very far. You're a throwaway kid. That's what they called me, as a throwaway kid. And so I graduated from high school with a grade point average of 54%, left high school, did multiple suicide attempts to end my life. And then I got in some trouble. I got in some trouble financially. I co-signed a loan for two guys for a business, a startup company that went nowhere, went bust. And I went from a good credit rating to very poor credit rating, to getting my car repossessed, to be going homeless, to living on the streets, eating my next meal in a garbage dumpster, living on welfare for a few months, living in an apple orchard and also a tree house. And in fact, I even had a R9 credit rating. Now, most people in North America do not know what an R9 credit rating is, but somebody who understands the credit system with Equifax and TransUnion Credit, you know this metric score very well. An R9 credit rating is the worst possible credit score you can get in North America. Like, you ring the bell for the grand prize of having the worst case scenario of a credit score. So I was an R9, and I turned that all the way around to becoming financially independent. So it's I always say to people, man, if you're struggling financially, we do not have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems in life. There's no lack of money in the world. It's structure, it's systems, it's processes and strategies, your mindset and your environment around you. You can turn around from like where I was, an R9 person, to being homeless on the streets on welfare, to becoming very financially successful and prosperous and abundant in my life.
Wow. Sir Darren, that was a lot already, but I read the book. I read the book Until I Become.
Yes.
So thank you for the book.
My pleasure.
And this is absolutely inspiring. Guys, you need to get this book. I was so inspired. There's so many quotes in there that I use these days in my own speaking. And it's just a phenomenal book. The purpose and perseverance and payoff is what this book is all about. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper. How do you turn around from eating out of dumpsters, credit rating of, right at the bottom, all the way being financially independent and financial freedom? Like, what was a switch there?
So key thing was my thoughts. My mindset was very critical because I had a lot of negative self-talk. I felt I was not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. A lot of shame and guilt, embarrassment, some childhood trauma as well. So I had to admit that I had made some mistakes and they were learning opportunities. And then I had to realize that what I was doing during the waking hours of my day, my daily habits and my daily routines were getting me the results that I was getting. And so I had to start to take, first of all, when it came to financial, I wasn't paying myself first. Money was coming in. So you know how we hear that, 78% of the North American population live paycheck to paycheck? Well, I wasn't even living in paycheck to paycheck. I was living panic to panic. I was panic to panic. And so I would be in a panic, and then I'd solve that panic, and I'd be in another panic, and I'd solve that panic and be in another panic. So I wasn't even paycheck to paycheck. I was panic to panic.
Wow. Okay. Well, that sounds like a lot of us actually living that reality. So really it's controlling your thoughts because whatever circumstance that you have right now is just what's so, but we make up stories about what's so.
That's right.
Like I got into this trouble and it's because I am not enough. Rather than I got into this trouble, it's a learning opportunity for me to go to the next level.
Yes.
So first is change your mind.
Absolutely, yeah. Change
Right.
your mindset and then go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So first is change your mindset, but like obviously there's so many steps to getting to financial freedom and financial independence.
Yeah.
What's next? Like if people wanted to build wealth like you, like from literally nothing, where do we go next?
I
after
got
fixing our minds?
I got absolutely disgusted with myself. Like, I mean, I just called myself out in front of the mirror. I was 38 years of age. I remember it was yesterday. I got so upset with myself and so disgusted with myself that I don't want to live my life this way anymore. And that was a defining moment in my life where I realized enough is enough. It's game over. Like, I am done. I am done living up and down, peaks and valleys, money in, money out. I'm done not paying myself first. I'm done paying everybody else first and me not getting paid and not even getting scraps or leftover. And that was a defining moment. And then at 38 years of age, I set out that I was going to be on a hunt. I was going to be on a search for at least 10 years. I gave myself 10 years for financial freedom to get my money right. And I will travel anywhere in the world. I'll go wherever I am. And I want to get around people who are ultra high net worth people. And I want to study them. I want to be at their feet. And I want to sit at their tables. I want to be in their conversations. I want to study them. And so from age 38 all the way through my 40s, I was obsessed with financial wealth building and getting around people. And then I realized that I had to change some habits, some behaviors, some friends, some environments, things I was doing during the waking hours of my day, information I was consuming, information I was reading, who I was listening to, which I was observing. And then every day before I go to bed at night, I'd think, okay, I'd reflect on my day. I'd do some self-reflection. I'd say, okay, today, what I like best about today? What should I change or adjust or make better? How can I improve it even better tomorrow? And so I was always constantly auditing myself to get better and better as an athlete. But in business, like performing, okay, so, and then keeping track financially. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So you've got to keep score of your financial net worth. And to me, it was never about the money. I wanted freedom in my life. I wanted options. I wanted choices. I wanted different options that I could do in my life. That was a big thing for me because I always felt growing up in my life that I didn't have the options. I didn't have that freedom because I was always told what to do. And I'm a terrible employee because I don't like being told what to do. That's why I fit the entrepreneur track. Not everybody likes what I do because I take calculated risks. And so, but the key thing is get around people who are already living the ideal lifestyle that you want to create in your life that are at least 12 to 24 months out. Most people can't see past 2 years. Like if I say, look at your life 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, most people can't see that. But they can see 730 days, which isn't much, 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, there's a lot there. So really the end goal was to have freedom, options, and choices.
Yeah.
And that means financial freedom. However, did you ever have like a net worth goal that you set out from the very beginning? Like I want to be worth 100 million. Like,
100 million.
Did you write it down?
Yeah, 100 million. Yeah. I have over 7,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have over 7,000 written goals. Just full disclosure, I have over 7,000 written goals for my life.
Wow.
And my goal is to give away $100 million. That's my goal, is to give away $100 million. And so I'm on track right now to doing that, to 10 on track to doing that. But yeah, the goal is 100 million. Yeah.
To give away though 100 million.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So what do you need to be worth to give away 100 million? Just out of curiosity.
Well, so good question, because when you get into different ultra high net worth groups and you have conversations, as I've had many with people, everybody gives me their different professional opinion. And because when you start to realize that as you increase your financial net worth, like I don't have a lot of, like I have a few homes, but they're all income producing assets. Like everything I do is income producing assets. So I don't buy liabilities. I'm good at multiplying and expanding money. So part of the 100 million will not directly always come from me. It will come from other people as well collectively, because I have other people that are in on that pledge as well that want to contribute collectively. But it's just a goal. You know what it is for me is it's not the money. It's self-actualization of human growth and potential. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is who do I become as Sir Darren Jacklin to be able to give away $100 million. I remember a few years back, I was at a charity function where I was sitting at this table. I didn't pay for the seat. It was $5,000 for the table, or probably for the seat at the table. And a guy sponsored me to come in because he wanted to get to know me better. And he bought the whole table. And one of the guys at his table pledged $2.5 million that night for this foundation. He put up his hand. He said, I'm going to pledge $2.5 million. And that night he wrote a check for $2.5 million from his family. And I thought to myself, wow, how does he do that? Right? Like how does he do that? Like, man, I want to be in a position where I can just come to an event for 4 hours and write a check for $2.5 million and it's not going to change or alter his lifestyle. And that $2.5 million didn't change or alter his lifestyle. That was just, okay, great. I'm going to contribute to, some people contribute $500. He contributed $2.5 million. I was at another charity event one time, actually in New York City a few years ago, and I saw a husband and wife pledge $10 million at a function one night. $10 million. And I thought, that's another level. $10 million. And they just like, no problem, put their hand up, we'll pledge $10 million. And I'm thinking, that's another level. Man, how do they do that?
So is charity really important in the wealth building process? Like, you want to become a charitable person? Is that like a requirement for being wealthy as well?
Not a requirement,
just
but
for my own sake. Like,
yeah, good question. What I've found from my experience of studying and traveling the world, and now being married, I'm around royalty, so I'm around some of the most influential people in the world. I've been around many, many billionaires that are on the Forbes 400 list. I've been around people in Saudi Arabia, I've been around people in Dubai, I've been around people in Monaco, I've been around on private islands, I've been around a lot of places, right? I've been around with people in super yachts, $500 million yachts. I find that people, when they focus on humanitarian or philanthropy or charity, there's more joy. There's more, if we look at from a return on it, so how in business we talk about return on investment. I look at there's a return on energy, an ROE, return on energy, and I look at an RO, what we call RO energy, return on energy, but also an ROL, return on life. I feel that people that there's more joyful, they're more pleasurable, they're enriched their lives. Because the secret to living is giving, and my success is someone else's miracle. And so I find it becomes more like a game, that when you're doing things for charity and to support causes and solving problems, you feel more fulfilled, more joy from my experience and from my research of being around a lot of influential people. So I can read the books, but I actually get a chance to hang out with these people and be in conversation in close proximity to them, and I see how much joy they're experiencing, but I also see the impact on their families. How their kids see, mom and dad working hard, they're contributing money and making a difference, solving problems, serving their communities and helping out charities. It's very enriching and very rewarding. And the cool thing is you can either do it anonymously, or you can do it with,
this is good.
Yeah, like I'll give you a quick example. In my book, Until I Become, I talk about one of my mentors, where years ago in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada, I'd go to Polson Park, and my mentor had a grade 3 formal education. He lived off his money's interest. And the interest was $5 million a year. So I had no idea what the financial principle was, but the interest was $5 million a year. So imagine living off your money's interest. It's a different mindset.
Wow. That's
right?
I just did it. 100 million at 5% per year is 5 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
100 million.
Yeah, 100 million.
Wow.
5 million. And I actually sat with this gentleman, my mentor, and he actually would write checks out to, we look at the newspapers in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, Canada, and he'd write out checks anonymously to various different people for, somebody who's going to Children's Hospital or Ronald McDonald House or things that were going on in their lives. And anonymously, he would just contribute money to support them. And he taught me one thing as my mentor. He said, Darren, I want you to do some charity work in your life that nobody knows, but you keep it close to your heart, and that you just keep it close to your heart, and that nobody ever knows that you did that random act of kindness. And whether it's paying off somebody's mortgage, it's paying somebody's medical bills, it's opening a door for somebody, getting them a job interview, getting them a promotion, getting them a raise, get them a loan, whatever it is, find a way to be of service and contribution and contribute to somebody's life. It's interesting. I was in Ottawa yesterday, and I was doing a podcast. I flew to Ottawa, from Vancouver to Ottawa, went there for 4 hours, and then flew back all in the same day. And so when I was there, a guy asked me off camera, he said to me, tell me one thing that you've done that very few people know about you. And I'm like, okay. And he said, and I just sat there and I said, well, I used to travel almost 300 days a year globally, and I accumulated so many aeroplane miles every year that honestly I used to donate them to people that had sick children. And I would work with people with aeroplane, and I would do that. And I said, why did you ask me that question? And he says, because I knew inside of you there was something about you. And it's interesting why I'm sharing this with you, because I was never open about that. And he said, consider sharing that with people, because then other people will think that's a great idea or strategy. Then they might do it. We'll have more people doing that across the country. I thought, what a great idea. So that's why I'm sharing it publicly, is that, there's these little things that, sometimes people are flying lots and they're like, yeah, I got all these points, but I'm just accumulating points to play a game, but I'm not going to spend all these points. And think about paying it forward and maybe give it to a charity or a family member or someone, a loved one, or somebody in need that could benefit from that, right? Because our success is someone else's miracle.
I love that, because a lot of people are more into the lack and scarcity instead of abundance. So when you are giving, you're actually in the mindset of abundance. But why are most people in the mindset of lack and scarcity, do you think, Sir Darren?
Great question. Well, because the thing is that we think there's never going to be enough, right? Because there's too much month at the end of the money. And the thing is that we come from, there's only so much pie, right? And there's this lack and scarcity mindset. It's like, people always say, well, how do I know I'm in lack and scarcity? Well, next time you go into a restaurant, most people read the menu from right to left. They see how much things cost, and they decide what they're going to order. People pull up to the gas station, they look at the price of gas, and they decide how much gas they're going to put in their gas tank. So the key thing is that we don't have money problems in life.
That's right.
We don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems in life. There's no lack of money. There's two types of people. I'll give you an example, John. I have a guy, actually we have somebody, I won't mention his name, but there's somebody that we both know in common that called me up a couple years ago that had a multi-million-dollar tax problem. And this person makes so much money they didn't know what to do with it. And they wrote a check for multiple seven figures to the IRS. Okay? And he was saying, Darren, he says, we have money problems. We have so much money coming in through so many different revenue streams that we don't know what to do with the money. Like, we're stockpiling cash every month. Stockpiling cash. And he goes, we have so much money coming in, we have to hire somebody as a full-time revenue manager just to manage the money. And we don't know how to hire a revenue manager. So why I'm sharing this with you is because there's two types of people in life. There's people who don't have enough money. There's people who have an overflowing abundance of money. And the difference is their mindset and the daily operation of how they think about money. It's a mindset. It's a frame of how we frame things in our lives. And I used to be that way. I used to come from total lack and scarcity, never being good enough, never being smart enough, never having enough money, always stressed out, 2, 3, 4, 5 months behind on paying my bills on time in my 20s, my 30s, up and down consistently, and then realizing, oh my gosh, this isn't working for me. And so I got so disgusted with myself, I changed. And now it's interesting, my money habits are so different because most people don't have their money right. But when you start to look at millionaires and multimillionaires and decamillionaires, we do things differently than the majority of people. When money comes into your account, the first thing I say to people is, what do you do with the money? When you get paid every 2 weeks from your employer, where does the money go? And people say, well, I got to pay my cell phone bill, I got to pay my rent or my mortgage, got to pay my car payment, got to pay my Netflix account, all that stuff. I said, great. But who took the risk? You took the risk. You did all the hard work, you did all the heavy lifting, but you never got paid. You didn't pay yourself first. And now it becomes a vicious cycle over and over again. So the thing is that when money comes into your account, the key thing is you pay yourself, put money into account, do not touch the principal of that money, and then look at all that money as little yellow fuzzy chicks that are going to grow and expand, and then you want to multiply and expand that money is what you want to do. That's the key thing, is multiplying and expanding money. 3 steps. Number 1 is, so and another thing is too with wealthy people don't earn money. They don't make money. They collect money. So they set up business like which I've been doing now. I've been acquiring businesses through acquisitions, and I buy companies, and then like I've been buying bookkeeping accounting firms across North America here the last couple of years with a partner. And we're doing a roll-up strategy. We're building up to a $50 million company. So one thing I love about bookkeeping accounting businesses is, number 1, it's a boring industry. It's very predictable income. But the cool thing is, once you're legal age to once you retire, you got to pay taxes. 2 things you can't avoid in life is death and taxes. So the cool thing I like is that it's a great model that we have long-term clients. So, and it's very predictable. And then we build out ancillary services in the business model. So the key thing is wealthy people collect money. They don't go and earn it or make it. They collect it. They create businesses that collect money. And the key thing is MRR, monthly recurring revenue. So just like your cell phone, every month, you got to pay your cell phone bill to the owners of that company. That's monthly recurring revenue. So you find a good business model that gives you monthly recurring revenue. So you do something once, but it pays you ongoingly.
Okay, so residual income, and it has to be recurring income, not like if like in real estate. You and I know, Sir Darren, I eat what I kill.
That's right, absolutely.
Right,
Well,
and
most people
obviously
work for
we are
commissions and tips.
very.
If you look at a lot of people in society, they work for commissions and tips, right?
Yeah. But luckily, Glenn is such a genius that he came up with the concept of EXP and revenue share and stocks to have people like me, who's just a salesperson, now be able to become a business person and have monthly recurring income. What a gift. Which brings me to my next question, actually. How did you meet Glenn Sanford?
Yeah, so interesting question. So back in 2013, we have a mutual friend in Kelowna, British Columbia Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. And I've known this family for over 30 years. Glenn's known for many, many years. And I was traveling the world as one of the top corporate trainers in the world. I was traveling about 276 days a year globally doing corporate training seminars.
Oh, jeez.
And I was training, I had 157 of the Fortune 100 companies as clients that I was training all over the world. And so I was on the road all the time doing corporate training. And so this family, I'd known them for many years, like I said, and they reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking at putting some seed money into this residential real estate startup company. We know the founder. Would you be willing to fly? And I was in Vancouver, living here. And they said, would you fly back at your own expense from Vancouver to Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada? So I'm like, absolutely. So a couple of my close friends were like, wait a second here, Darren, that's a little crazy. This is a very successful family in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, that's asking you to come back at your own financial expense. I'm like, yeah. The reason why is 2 things. Number 1 is I wanted to have a seat at the table. And number 2 is I wanted to be in the conversation. Because as I talk about in my book, Until I Become, as human beings, all we are is a network of conversations. And networks of conversations. So we're in networks of conversations. Opportunities live inside of networks of conversations.
That's
so
right.
I flew back and I spent about 7 months volunteering my time going through the discovery and the due diligence process of EXP Realty with Glenn Sanford. And then Glenn came to my house in Deep Cove in North Vancouver, spent a few times at my house there, and we went back and forth multiple times over that period of time. And then the family came to me and they said, hey, we have to make a decision. What do you think? And I said, you know what? I don't quite understand the non-bricks and mortar thing back in 2013, right? But I believe in this entrepreneur, this guy named Glenn Sanford. Like, this guy's integrity, his heart, his soul. He's passionate about real estate. He really has the backs of licensed real estate agents and brokers. I think we should take a chance and invest in the jockey, because you got the jockey and you got the horse.
Right.
You always, the jockey is important, because you don't have the good jockey. The horse is great too, but you need the jockey and the horse.
Wow.
And so then the family came back to me and said, listen, we want you to be close to our money. Would you consider being the first independent board of directors member of EXP Realty back in 2013? Wow. And I said, yes, on one condition. I do not want it to be a conflict of interest with my corporate training business. So I went to 73 different people, John, across North America, that I did, with Coldwell Banker, Cint 21, Royal LePage Realty, Berkshire Hathaway, you name it, all the big real estate franchises across North America. I went to all these companies that I did corporate training for. Remax, I even contacted Dave Liniger, because I'd met Dave Liniger, the founder of Remax, a few times. And I contacted all these different people, and I said, I'm looking at getting involved with this residential real estate startup company, joining their board of directors, independent director. What do you think? And all 73 people said, do not get involved. It's going nowhere fast.
Wow.
These things are a dime a dozen. It's going nowhere fast. It's going to be an embarrassment to you, Darren. Do not waste your time. It's a shiny object. This is in 2013. Ooh. It's a shiny object.
Wow. Shiny object.
Yeah, so I was stressed and under pressure because I thought, well, wait a second here. Who's writing the check? Follow the money. I thought, well, this family in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada is writing the check. Nobody else is writing the check. Follow the money. So I thought, wait a second here. So I went for a walk up at Rice Lake in North Vancouver, and I came back and said, you know what? I'm going to follow the money, and I'm going to follow who's writing the check, and I'm going to bet on the people who are writing the check. So I called up the family. I said, I'm in. And so I joined as the first independent directors member in 2013. And everybody laughed at us, made fun of us, criticized us, hated us because we were going nowhere fast. We had no money building the airplanes we're flying at. We're nothing but dreamers. Like I used to have people send me messages on my voicemail, dreamer, nothing but a dreamer. And then they'd hang up the phone. Oh, yeah, crazy stuff. I used to get wild, crazy text messages, Darren. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. You joined some kind of cult. This is going nowhere fast. What an embarrassment. And I get people texting me, hey, Darren, I belong to BNI or Women in Business or Chamber of Commerce. And we've got X amount of realtors in our real estate company. Not one of them's heard of your company. Hey, Darren, there's 17 homes in my neighborhood that are up for sale right now. Not one of them's an EXP sign. Wish you all the best, Darren. It's going nowhere, Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was crazy in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. People laughed at me, criticized me, made fun of me. Oh, yeah, it was brutal. And then in 2018, when we did the uplist to NASDAQ, did over $1 billion market cap on our first day of trading. And then people realized, oh my gosh, okay, maybe this is going to go someplace. We're starting to get some traction here. And then we started to grow and scale, as you know, and our numbers prove it. And now people look at it and they go, Darren, like, it's funny now because I run across a lot of people who laughed at me and criticized me in the early days, a decade ago. And they're like, Darren, maybe you're onto something. So now when I'm involved with something, people want to ride with me. They want to have a seat at the table and they want to be with me. It's like, I get people approaching me all the time wanting to invest me with these bookkeeping and accounting firms because they know that, hey, when I say we're going to build it to a $50 million company, hey, look what we did as a team, what we did with EXP as a team, how we built it as a team. Now look at what we can do stuff. So yeah, it's exciting. But I'm really proud of Glenn because Glenn didn't give up. Glenn took the greatest risk. His back was against the wall. A lot of critics, a lot of naysayers. A lot of uncertainty, but he just stayed true to his heart, his integrity, and his mission and vision, and persevered no matter what. And I'm so proud of him for what he did because, he went up against an industry with very deep financial pockets that have been around for decades with well-known brand recognition, and he turned a corner, and he changed a lot of people's lives internationally with a new model in real estate that changed the game for real estate. And today we have a lot of competitors also in the space now that are mimicking and copying the model because if you can be copied, you will be copied. And so it's really exciting to see where we are now, a little over a decade later, of how far we've come and the lives that have been impacted and how real estate's changed because of one guy who didn't give up and quit. If he would have quit, if Glenn would have quit, who knows where we'd be today in real estate.
That's right. And it's the people around him as well that boosted him up, and you're one of them. And so you and Glenn's success is my family's miracle, Sir Darren. I will always say that. I appreciate your support. And, from day one, you've always helped me, and you've always got the biggest smile on your face. No matter what happens, I can always remember your smile, and it just lights up my day when I see you, Sir Darren. So thank you for giving us the gift as always. Sir Darren, for people who are listening to this podcast, who want to build wealth, who want to ultimately be successful, what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
So one of the things is that this may sound really weird. So I get this is a frequently asked question. And I thought, what's a way to put people into an environment where they can grow and expand and succeed, but also take care of their mental health, their mental well-being, and get some physical exercise? I actually created, I've committed to building, when I got knighted in 2022 by the royal family out of Spain with the Royal Order of Cappadocia, when I took my oath, I gave my oath to build 100 schools around the world for the next generation of some of the most impoverished children on the planet. I gave my oath for 100 schools as a declaration, as a commitment of accountability. And so what Ted and I did is we created Link Foundation, and one of our initiatives is E2E, Elevate to Educate. So if people go to hikingfundraiser.com, hikingfundraiser.com, you can get a chance to come out and be around financially wealthy, successful people that are out hiking as a cause. We say take a hike, build a school. So you take a hike and build a school, because we're building 100 schools. We've already built our first school over in Liberia, West Africa. So I say this because you get a chance to be out in nature, taking care of your mental health, having some physical exercise, while having some inspiring, collaborative, uninterrupted, focused conversations with some like-minded people that you can learn. You can just compress time. It's a time machine. Coming out for a day of hiking to support Link Foundation, a charitable cause to build schools, you compress time, and we have people fly and drive in from all over the world. And we're starting to do these in different cities around the world as we grow this and then scale Elevate to Educate at hikingfundraiser.com. So why I'm sharing this with you is because if somebody is really committed and serious about growing wealth, proximity is power. And so I can get you to read books and watch videos, but why not immerse yourself into an environment where you get a chance to meet people who are already living the lifestyle that you want? And the cool thing is why we're out in nature is because, guess what? You're not going to be on your cell phone. You're not going to be distracted. You're going to be listening to the birds. You're going to be grounding yourself, breathing the fresh air, the oxygen levels, all the green scenery, and have an inspiring environment when you get to the top of the mountain. You can celebrate something together. But here's the cool thing. One of the things about hiking, which I'm obsessed by, is that just like people that are in first responders or people that are in sports or people that are in military, when you struggle together, you bond together. And so when you're out on a hiking trail and you're sweating, you're bonding. There's chemicals changing in your physical body. And so in terms of building rapport, where people get to know you, like you, and trust you, it accelerates the speed. Okay? So if you're around a high net worth or an ultra high net worth person and they get to meet them at first, sometimes they're a little bit guarded because they're curious about you. They want to do their due diligence on you. They're not sure who you are. They want a background check and interview you. But when you're out in nature, there's an authenticity and a vulnerability, and there's a transparency, because when you're out there, and so you're in this environment that we've created through Elevate to Educate. We've created this ecosystem to support building schools, but also to get people to thrive in terms of a global community of a collective intelligence of like-minded people. So that's what I would advise people on, is people say, well, I'm not a hiker, then come out and walk. Just be in the environment, because proximity is power, and you'd be amazed at what happens. And the reason why is we've done 2 pilots already with this, and the results have been incredible in terms of the case studies. If I was to give you case studies of a lot of the hikers have come out of what's happened in their lives, both personally and professionally, from a result standpoint, you'd be blown away. I could spend a whole hour going through case studies of just people who have come out from all walks of life, from all over the world, who come out to join Elevate to Educate at hikingfundraisers.com, and what's happened as a result of that with their lives by just being in the environment and just being in a network of conversations, because opportunities live inside of conversations. It's so different.
Educate to elevate. So come to the hike. What day is it this year?
So the next one we're doing is in Vancouver, Canada, is on Saturday, June 29th of 2024. It'll be at Mount Seymour Provincial Park. All the details are at hikingfundraiser.com. And we're working on building some other ones as well across North America. And eventually, the next few years, we'll be international as well in multiple different cities around the world as we grow and scale this to serve people and build 100 schools around the world.
Amazing, guys. Proximity is power, and the best way to build wealth and become successful is get around people who are already successful and wealthy. I will get the links from Sir Darren, and we'll post it in the description in the YouTube video. Sir Darren, thank you so much for today.
My pleasure.
There's so much more that I wanted to ask you, but unfortunately we've run out of time. I will see you in person at the hike. Sir Darren, thank you.
Thank you. Grateful to be here.
Thank you.